didn't have to say anything. You're like, I know, Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It's the best. Wait, you're too young for coffee. If you're here, that means you're in high school. If you're in high school, you need Mr. Key. But you don't need coffee. Oh, God. I didn't even know I was a poet. I didn't even know it. Good thing I'm a pretty good math teacher because my jokes are terrible. Today we're going to talk about, this is day 6. Day 6. Oh, my God, I'm having so much fun. Day 6. We are doing solving rational equations, completing the square, and the quadratic formula. Woo! All right, kids, let's just get rolling. Let's just get rock and rolling. Here's how I do things. I take a look at all the denominators. I see a 12, I see an x, I see a 4, I got a problem. I got lots and lots of denominators, and although fractions are fun, it's one of the F words you're allowed to use in my classroom. Oh yeah, fractions, love them. Anyway, the lowest common denominator, that means the largest number, the smallest number that they all go into or divide evenly into. Like 12 doesn't go into 4, so 4 can't be the common denominator. So the smallest thing, and it generally includes all of this stuff, the smallest thing is 12x. That's the common denominator. And here's what we're going to do. We're really going to multiply everything through by 12x. 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 Notice how neat and organized I am. I will grab my blue pen now, and I'm going to get rid of this 12 and get rid of this 12. Well, that leaves me x plus, and this one I'm going to get rid of this x, get rid of this x, and I'm left with 12 equals 4 goes into 12 3 times equals 3x. Well, now I just have to solve this thing. Now look how simple that thing is to solve. Seriously? Nice and easy. All right, subtract x from both sides. I get 12 equals 2x, or x equals 6. Now, it is imperative that you guys do check all of these answers. How long is this going to... Hold on, let's just see if we can time this. Let's go home screen. Wait, hold on. Let's go back to calculator. Delete this. We'll go to the home screen. I'm going to put up the timer here. Let me check the timer. I'm going to put it right there. That's actually the recorder. It's recording. We're going to check the time, how long this takes. So we're going to start right at 50. So what we're going to do is go to calculator. We're going to do 6, control bar X, and then we're going to type in the left side. 1 over 12, 1 divided by 12, plus 1 over X, plus 1 divided by x, enter, and does that, done. Took 20 seconds, 25 seconds, done. And it wouldn't have taken that long if I didn't have to flip back and forth. So, 25 seconds to go, ka-ching, right. All right, let's look at this one. Now, I see this square, and it's probably going to mean we're going to end up factoring another F word you're allowed to use in my class. Factoring. Oh, I forgot to mention, all of this material can be found on my website. If you go to here, mrkrausmath.com, and if you're taking the Algebra 2 Trig test, there it is. There's your countdown. You got a little more than a month before the exam. You go find all the Regents review. Now, if you don't click on Algebra 1 if you're here for Algebra 2, but if your friends are in Algebra 1, tell them about this one. But Algebra 2, here we go. All of the old Regents exams, all of the solution videos, the multiple choice answers, etc. Click on here for topical review. Right now we're doing 4 or 6. I've already got 1 through 4 up. 5's done. I should already have that up. I don't, but it will be. By the time you're watching this, 5 and 6 will probably be up. And if you want to know what the other topics are that are going to be coming, if you're my student, you can just look on here for when I'm reviewing. This is this week. Next week we're going to do solving equations graphically, graphing trig graphs. Take a 3-day weekend, and then we start this all over again. And then topics pending for that review during the week. But whatever. All the stuff's here. You can come and see me. Just go to mrkrausmath.com. It's very easy right there. mrkrausmath.com. Very, very simple. All right, bye. Let's go back to work. Why are you not getting off my screen? All right, everything's gone. Okay, so the common denominator between 6x, 2x, and 3x. Well, the smallest number that they all divide evenly into is 6, and there's an x, so my common denominator is 6x. So I'm going to put a 6x here, I'm going to put a 6x here, and I'm going to put a 6x here. So take my next pen out. 3 goes into 6 twice, so I've got 2x times 2x, that's 4x squared. This whole thing cancels with this whole thing, so that leaves me equals 3x squared minus 5, and that whole thing cancels with that whole thing. Oh, wait a second now, brother. Got a 6x here. This cancels with this, and then 2 goes into 6 3 times. I almost screwed that up. Plus 21. Okay, so we're almost done. I got a squared. I want my squared to be positive, so I'm going to move everything over to that side. So I subtract 3x squared, I get x squared. Now this here is positive 16. So when I bring it over, I get negative 16 equals 0. Oh, this is the difference of perfect squares. Not bad factoring. Actually, it's very easy factoring. X and x plus 4 minus 4. So I got two answers. X equals 4 and x equals negative 4. Now, I didn't say this before, but, look professional when you're done with your test. Negative 4 and 4. Wait a second. Should I be putting those over without checking? I don't think so. So let's do 4, control var x, enter. And then we've got 2x. Let's see if I can bring this over here like this. So I'll have to keep flipping back and forth. So control division 2x over 3. That's the left side. And then the right side is control division 3x squared minus 5 over, I believe that was 6x. Forgot the minus 5 apparently. 5. Plus control division 7 over 2x. 7 over 2x. Now all I'm hoping for is I get 8/3. Hey, 8/3. Now I'm going to take negative 4, control var x. This one takes a little bit longer to check. And just hit this one. Hit the up arrow until this first one's highlighted. Enter. Enter. Negative 8/3. Now hit up arrow until this one's highlighted. Enter. Enter. And they're both negative 8/3. We're good. Yay. All right, I'm probably not going to, well, maybe I'll check. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, got another quadratic. So, wait, let's see how long we've been going for. Got time. So the common denominator here is the smallest number that they all go into is 4. So we're going to multiply everything through by 4x. But this minus bothers me. I don't like minuses here. So I'm going to change this to a plus and make that a minus. Only because sometimes you'll see later it's going to cause you some problems. So we're going to put a 4x next to every one of these. 4x here, a 4x here, and a 4x here. Now 2 goes into 4 twice, so I got 2x times 1, so that's 2x is equal to. Now the good thing is that cancels with that. That was a 4x. It didn't look like it, but it was. X squared minus 7x plus 10. 2 goes into 4 twice, and the x's cancel. So this is just minus 2. My squared's positive right here, so I'm going to leave that there and I'm going to bring this, subtract this 2x over. So I get 0 equals x squared plus, oops, excuse me, minus, it's going to go away. I can't get it, but it's going to go away right now. Minus 9x plus 8. Oh, factoring's a joke. X minus 8. X minus 1. Now, if you don't keep this equal 0, you're going to lose points. So your two answers are x equals 8 and x equals 1. Both of which check. So I just leave it like that. Boom. Chaka-laka-laka. All right. I'll be back. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean for you to see that. Love my coffee. Page 2. Oh, no. We've got us a problem here. All right. So, well, we got an interesting thing here. I think what I'm still going to do is figure out what the common denominator is. This is over 1. So my common denominator is actually just 2x minus 1 as a binomial. So 2x minus 1 as a binomial is my common denominator. So I'm going to multiply through everything by that. Now this is kind of fun because these are binomials. So that cancels with that. That leaves me 3x squared. That cancels with that. Leaves me plus 3x minus 4 equals, now this gives me negative 2 times 2x minus 1. Notice nothing canceled because my denominator was 1. So let's see, this is really negative 4x plus 2, and it's all got to come over to that side. So we're going to get 3x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0. Now that factoring hope works out. Otherwise, I might have to bust out my quadratic formula. So I'm going to do 3x and x. The 2 is going to go here, and the 1 is going to go here, and the minus is going to go here, and the plus is going to go here. So watch, this is really 3x plus 2 equals 0. Bring the 2 over, I get 3x equals negative 2, or x equals negative 2/3. Now there's a reason I went through all that work. Normally I wouldn't. And this one gives me x equals 1. The calculator will actually do that factoring for you. It's 3, negative 1, 2. So if you go menu 3, 3, 1, and it's a quadratic, and you go, I forgot what it was already, 3, negative 1, 2, negative 3, negative 1, negative 2, and you hit OK. There it is. And you hit OK. It tells you what the two answers are. So you can actually work backwards from the two answers. If I said this was negative 2/3, this 3 came from being in front of this x, and it all goes back into being positive. I had a negative 1. I have a positive 1 here. When I put it back, I get negative 1. And both these answers work, so I'll just leave it as that. Negative 2/3. When I get an answer that's not going to work, I'll show you what's not going to happen. But you definitely should be checking these on everything. Uh-oh, we got a problem. Hold on, let's see if I got time for this problem. Whew, good, I got time for it. I got an issue. Got to take care of it. I'm going to highlight it in yellow, and it's right here. Actually, that's a problem, and that thing's a problem. Let's take care of this thing first. That's a problem because I don't want to ever leave a negative inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that into a positive by bringing that negative up there. So I took care of that problem. Oops, that's a positive. Now I'm going to put this in parentheses. So I'm going to copy this all down. 2x, you'll see why in a second. X plus 5 plus negative 1. Now that thing's a problem because it's backwards. And it's going to be a major issue if I leave it like that. So I don't want to leave it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn it around. And you're thinking, you can't do that. That's not legal. Well, it is and it isn't. If you have 5 minus x and you pull out a negative 1. So what you really have is negative 1, negative 5 plus x, right? Because if I distribute this, that would give me positive 5 and negative x. Well, I don't like the way that's written, so this is negative 1 x minus 5. These two things are the same thing. So that's how I have to do it. If I'm going to take out, or if I'm going to switch the order of something, I can do it, and I like to call it one of the two negative 1 rules that we have. If things are backwards, if something's backwards from what you think by, in your brain you got to be thinking, oh, that's the negative 1 rule. So I'm going to switch it, but in order to do so, I have to introduce a new negative, and I'm going to put another negative up here in the numerator. So that really makes that a positive 1. Okay, because I didn't want to put the negative 1 here. I put it up in the numerator. Okay, so I think we're in good shape now. And then one last thing I want to do is I want to factor this side. 10 x minus 5, x plus 5, x minus 5. Well, as you see it now, I hope that you're all seeing that the common denominator is x plus 5, x minus 5, x plus 5, x minus 5, x plus 5, x minus 5. Those are the common denominators. So I multiply everything through by it. This x plus 5 cancels with this. So I end up with 2x, x minus 5, This x minus 5 cancels with this x minus 5. Now this is really just a positive 1. So it's plus x plus 5 equals, that whole thing goes with that whole thing, and I get 10. Oh man, this is becoming an easy problem now that I've done all the hard work. This is a really hard problem if you don't do that. Now it's not bad at all. So we're going to go 2x squared minus 10x plus x plus 5 equals 10. Everything goes to the left side, so I get 2x squared minus 10x, minus 9x when I put those together, 9x, and then minus 5 equals 0. The factoring is very simple. But I'm going to show you, even though the factoring is very simple, I'm going to show you how to work backwards from using the calculator. So I know I have to factor this, and that's part of the solution, so you do have to show that work, and I know I'm going to get 2 answers. Now, if you're smart, you know that the only way to get 2x squared is really being a 2x here and an x here. But let's say you didn't know that. Okay? What we're going to do is come to our calculator, and we got 2, negative 9, negative 5. So menu, 3, 3, 1, 2. See, I already forgot what they were. I think it's negative 9, negative 5. Negative 9, negative 5. Hit enter. Make sure that's this 2x squared minus 9x minus 5. That is the quadratic you've asked for. Hit enter, and there's your 2 answers. Negative 1/2 and 5. Even though the factoring wasn't bad, I'm still going to use that. Negative 1/2 and 5. Well, this one's easy. Remember, when they go in or come out of parentheses, they go in or out backwards. So this is x minus 5. This is already a negative, so this is going to go in as a plus. Now, this 2 came from being in front of here. Remember, we already talked about it's probably 2x and x plus 1. And there's your factoring. And now we have to check. Now, this is one of the reasons why you definitely have to check, because our 2 answers should be negative 1/2 and 5. One of those is going to crash this sucker. So let's see what happens when it does it. So we're going to do, we're just going to do the one that's going to crash. 5 is going to crash. And hopefully some of you already saw that. That's weird. So control division. 2x over x plus 5. Remember, you're going to put this in exactly the way it started. So it started with a minus. Control division 1 over 5 minus x. What in the world? 1 over 5 minus x. And we're going to put that, we put that left side in, we hit enter, and we got, oops, undefined. I wonder if I get undefined on the right side. And this is a problem because you're going to do control division. I'll get these same dumb kids. They drive me crazy. I love them to death, but sometimes their brain just shuts off. You get x squared minus 25, and you get undefined. We're like, oh, look, undefined equals undefined. That works. No, undefined means it's undefined. It doesn't work. If you plug 5 into this denominator right here, if you plug a 5 into either one of these denominators, this right here gives you 0 in the denominator, and it crashes. The only answer to this question is negative 1/2. That's it. That's all there is to it. The other one's got to go. All right, I'll be right back. I just noticed my audio is a little off from my video, so that's a little weird. So I apologize for that. I'm trying to correct for that. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I'll get there. We'll figure it out eventually, I hope. If not, supper. Sorry. It's a bad 70s Kung Fu movie. All right, so we got the same issues going on here. I want to get rid of this, bring the plus upstairs. This is backwards. That's backwards, so we're going to change it. I'm going to do it right here. X minus 3, but you have to introduce another negative, so that makes that positive. Looking at this right here, you should already know that's x plus 3. I'm trying to do it a little bit faster this time, x minus 3. So my common denominator is x plus 3, x minus 3. Once you notice a couple of these things, they actually go pretty quickly. Even though they're relatively difficult questions, they actually become relatively easy. X plus 3, x minus 3. This one actually is very easy. The x plus 3's cancel. I'm left with x minus 3. The x minus 3's cancel. I'm left with plus 2x plus 6. Now I distributed that too. Equals 4. Holy crap. The whole thing just went. So I end up with 3x plus 3 equals 4. X equals 3x equals, sorry, I got the answer in my head. X equals 1 or x equals 1/3. Now you can check it. It's the right answer. All right, that's it for that. Now we're going to do graphing inequalities. Graphing inequalities. Now I could, if I wanted to, come over here to my graphing calculator and go into graphing mode and just type this sucker in. Was it 5 over x minus 2? 5 divided by parentheses x minus 2. And if I graph that, I can see exactly when it is negative. That's what this means, negative. It's negative all the way here, all the way up to, looks like about 2. It looks like at about 2 we have an issue. Okay. And oh look, doesn't 2 make the denominator of this fraction undefined? So here's what your steps are. You're going to factor it. If you can, this one we can't. And look for critical numbers. Now, critical numbers, if you remember, critical numbers are what make the denominator equal 0 or the numerator equal to 0. That's what we're looking for. Those are the things we're looking for. Well, in this case, I can only make the denominator equal to 0. So what happens is I draw a little number line, and I say, okay, positive 2 is my cutoff. So I want to check this side, and I want to check this side, because one of those sides is the right answer. So I'll pick a number from over here, 0. And I'm going to plug it in, right in there for that. So what I get is 5 over 0 minus 2. Well, that's 5 over negative 2, and the only thing I know is that's negative. If I plug in a number over here like 10, I get 5 over 10 minus 2. That's 5 over 8. That's positive. Well, what am I looking for? I'm looking for when it's negative. So the answer is x is less than 2. If I have to graph it on the number line, it's an open circle at 2, arrow going to the right. Now, it has to be an open circle. Even if it had an equal to, it'd have to be an open circle because it's undefined at x equal to 2 right here. That's it. There we go. We're going to move on. Okay, so this one's a lot more of an interesting question. We're going to look for our critical numbers. First thing we got to do is factor. X minus 2, x minus 1, all over x minus 3. Now, again, I could go to my graphing calculator and graph this thing. That's not what I want. Home, graph, home, graph. I think after I graph this, I'll pause it. X squared minus 3x. It's not going to let me do that. I hate this calculator. Sometimes I hate this calculator. No. Go into graph mode. All right, so just do it this way. Parenthesis. X squared minus 3x. X squared minus 3x plus 2 divided by x minus 3 in parentheses. X minus 3. If it didn't allow you to do the control division, you got to be careful. It'll eventually. Oh my goodness, look at that craziness. So what are we looking for? We're looking for when is it negative. Holy mackerel. So if I look at it right here, negative means below the x-axis. It's negative here from whatever that number is down here. And then from whatever that number is here. But from in between here, it's positive. And if I go over here, I'm not sure where that graph went to. Over here, it's all positive. So I've got 3 critical numbers. My critical numbers are, 2. That's what makes this one 0. 1, that's what makes this one 0. And 3, that's what makes this one 0. So my number line is going to look kind of weird. 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I've got a lot of areas to check. I'm going to check in between each of these areas. And I want to know where it's positive and where it's negative. All right, so I'm going to check 0 first. So I'm going to plug 0 in. 0 minus 2. I'm in this one. 0 minus 2 is negative. 0 minus 1 is negative. 0 minus 3 is negative. 3 negatives make a negative. So from here, going in that direction, it's negative. Now I'm going to check a number in between 1 and 2, like 1.5. So if I put 1.5 in here, that's negative. If I put 1.5 in here, that's actually positive. It's positive 1.5 minus 1. That's positive. And then if I put 1.5 in the denominator, I get a negative. So 2 negatives make a positive. So in between here is positive. And that's not what I want. So I don't want this. I want negative. Now I'm going to try 2.5. 2.5, this is positive. This is positive. And this is negative. So 2.5, I've got positive, positive, and negative. So this is negative. In between here is negative. So I want that. And then from 3 on, if I put a 3 in, let's say I put a 10 in. I'm going to take 10. If I put a 10 in, into this first one, it'll be positive. Into the second one, it'll be positive. Into the third one, it'll be positive. So positive, positive, positive make a positive. So what do I want? I want here and I want here. So if I graph this on the number line, it would look like this. 0, 1, 2, 3. So I want from 1 over, and I want between 2 and 3. Notice it doesn't have an equal sign. So these are open circles. Now let me show you how it would change if it did have an equal sign. If it did have an equal sign, I could fill in this circle. And I could fill in this circle. But I could not fill in this circle because that would make the denominator undefined. All right, but it doesn't have that, so let's get rid of it. All right, so now I got to write my answer up. Now this answer is going to be funky. So we're going to state our solution. I'm going to do this in interval notation. So I'm going to get rid of this so I have room over here so make it look nice and neat. So if I take care of this piece in interval notation, that's from negative infinity to 1, parentheses. Union, that means this is the same as or, from parentheses 2 to 3 parentheses. You could do it this way, or you could do this. X is less than 1, or negative, it's not negative 2, it's positive 2. Positive 2 is less than x is less than 3. Either one of these would be correct. This is what's called interval notation. Hopefully you learned it. And this is standard notation. All right. So I'm going to change this problem right away. I'm going to make it an equal to. So we make it a little bit harder. Put that equal to. All right. So we're going to look for our critical numbers. First I got to do is factor it. So I'm going to do it right over here. X minus 4. X plus 2 all over x minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. So my 3 critical numbers are 4, that's what makes this 0, negative 2, and positive 1. So I'm going to put those up on a number line. Just gives me testing zones. Testing zones. I got negative 2 over here, I got 1 here, and I got 4 here. So just give me some areas to test. And I'm just going to pluck a number from each area. I'm going to plug it into the parentheses. Now I'm doing 3 parentheses because there's 3 parentheses in the problem. Oh, I should have paused this. As soon as I get this last one wrong, I'm going to pause it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a number from way over here. I'm going to take negative 100. And I'm going to put negative 100 in here. Negative 100. Negative 100, and negative 100. Well, that would make this negative, and this negative. So negative, negative, negative. 3 negatives makes a negative. Remember, an odd number of negatives makes a negative. Now I'm going to pick a number between negative 2 and 1. 0. I'm going to plug a 0 in. 0, 0, and 0. 0 minus 4 is negative. 0 plus 2 is positive. 0 minus 1 is negative. 2 negatives makes a positive. Now I'm going to plug a number in between 1 and 4. 2. If I plug a 2 in here, that's negative. If I plug a 2 in here, that's positive. If I plug a 2 in here, that's positive. 1 negative makes a negative. And I think it's easy. If I plug in a big positive number, all of these will be positive. So positive, positive, positive. Where do I want? I want here, and I want here. So if I look at my number line, at negative 2, I'll have a closed-in circle going to the left. Between 1 and 4, at 1, I have to have an open circle because that would make this undefined. It can't be 1. 1 is not in the domain. But at 4, I can have a closed circle, and I connect the dots. Now, if I want to give this answer in interval notation, it's parentheses, negative infinity, comma, negative 2 bracket, because it can be equal to, union, parenthesis 1, comma, 4 bracket. Okay? If you did it standard notation, it's x is less than negative 2, or 1 is less than x is less than or equal to 4. That was a very hard problem. I think I'm only doing one more. Doing one more, then we're getting to factoring, or then we're getting into completing the square. Oh, we got some tough factoring to do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to cheat a little bit on the denominator. So I know one of my critical numbers is 4. I think it's just 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. Oh, that can't be true. They're both 2x minus 3s. They're both 2x minus 3s. That's an interesting problem. All right, that's okay. So my critical numbers are 4, and then this would make, what would make this 0 is x equals 3 halves. So 3 halves is my other critical number. It's just a little over 1. It's like 1.5. So 0, 1.5, and 4. Because 3 halves is really 1.5. All right, so we've got 2 testing locations because both of these are the same. These are both 3 halves. So I got 2 testing locations. All right, so I'm going to test 0. So if I plug 0 in, If I plug 0 in the numerator, it's negative. If I plug 0 in there, it's negative. And if I plug 0 in there, it's negative. So negative times negative is, you guessed it, 3 negatives makes a negative. If I plug in between these two, like, let's take 3. 3 in the numerator would make a negative. 3 in the denominator, 3 in the denominator make a positive and a positive. So 1 negative is, negative. And then finally, if I plug in a big number, it's positive over positive, positive. So this is just positive. So it looks like I want all of this. So I've got a little bit of a problem. This is an incredibly difficult problem. Not really. 0, 1, and I'll put, was it 4? 4 over here, 3 and 2. So here's the problem. It looks as if I want to put an open circle right here and put my arrow going this way. The problem is I can't have 1.5. At 1.5, the denominator is undefined. So there's actually an open circle at 1.5 and an open circle here at 4. So between here and here and between here going that way, it's like all of these numbers except when it gets to 1.5. That's a problem. It can't be that one. So this was actually a very difficult question. The answer is negative infinity to 3/2 or 1.5 open circle union, parenthesis, union parenthesis 3/2 comma 4 parentheses. It just can't be 3/2. Kind of tricky. All right, we're going to do completing the square. Now, I'll walk you through the steps of completing the square. I know that I can do completing the square if this is a 1 and this is even. Well, I don't have either of those. But I can divide through by 3. If I divide the left side by 3 and I divide the right side by 3, I get x squared plus 12x plus 14 equals 0. Oh, yeah, this isn't going to factor. I was like, man, that's not going to factor. Okay, so now I have what I need. I need my leading coefficient to be 1, and I need my middle term to be positive. That's step 1. We got that. Step 2 is to move the constant over to the other side and write with 2 boxes. We're going to write it with 2 boxes. Or 2 squares. All right, so in this parentheses square, that's why we call it that, completing the square, because we're going to create a perfect square trinomial. I put in x and then whatever half of positive 12 is. Well, that's positive 6. And positive 6 squared is 36. So I'll put a 36 there, and I'll put a 36 there. So negative 14 plus 36 is 22. Almost done. Now you have to take the square root of both sides. When you take the square root, don't forget to put a plus or minus. It's in my flashcards. You should have a copy of my flashcards. X plus 6 is equal to plus or minus radical 22. Final step is to move that 6 over, so I get x equals negative 6, because when the 6 comes over, it becomes negative, plus or minus the square root of 22. I think I need to save. Moving and shaking, kids. Moving and shaking. First thing we're going to do is get rid of the leading coefficient. Divide by 2. Well, that's weird. Oh, there it is. Now we got it back. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Everything gets divided by 2. So I get x squared plus 4x minus 76 equals 0. We're going to rewrite it by moving over the constant and writing it with 2 boxes. Equals 76 plus 3. Take half of the middle and take half of the middle goes here. Then we square it to go here, 4 and 4. So I get equals 80. Now I come through and I take the square root of both sides. Put a plus or minus. So I get x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 80. Bring the 2 over. I get x equals negative 2 plus or minus. Now I have a problem. I have to simplify this square root of 80. Now, if you don't know the biggest perfect square in there, you could do this. You could say, okay, I know 4 goes in. 4 is 4 times 20. Wait a second, 20 has 1 too. So that's 4 times 4 times 5. And now you can see it. The biggest perfect square that goes in is actually 16. But if I don't need that, square root of that is 2. The square root of that is 2. So this is really 4 square roots of 5. 4 square roots of 5. Done. All right, first step, divide through by 3. Still doing completing the square. 3, 3, 3. I get x squared minus 8x plus square equals negative 16 plus square. Half the middle, x minus 4 squared. Now, even if you square minus 4, you get 16, positive 16. So I'll put a plus 16 over here. So I get equals 0. Well, that's cool. Take the square root of both sides. Square root of 0 is just 0. So I get x minus 4 equals 0. My answer is x equals 4. Well, that's kind of ridiculous. Completing a square. We can also do it to find the center and radius of a circle. You just have to do completing the square twice. So we're going to put the x's together. X squared plus, minus 10x plus square plus y squared minus 6y plus square equals negative 18. Still the constant comes over. Half the middle is x minus 5 squared is 25. Oh, wait, we put 2 boxes on that side. We better put 2 boxes over here. Squared. I'll put 25. I'll put 25. Plus, everybody forgets that plus sign right there. That's a big one. Y minus 3, half of that, squared equals 9 and 9. So if I add all that crap up on the right side, what do I get? 16? That's 7 plus 9 is 16. So I get 16. So now it says identify the center and the radius. Well, here I get the center right here. The center is 5, 3. Notice they're opposite. And remember, this is equal to the radius squared, so my radius is equal to 4. One more. You guys should be pausing this and trying this on your own before I continue with it. We're going to do x squared minus 14x plus square plus y squared plus 4y plus square equals 11 plus square plus square. So in these parentheses goes half the middle term squared, or half the middle term, square it, you get 49. So I'll do 49 over here. Plus y plus 2 squared equals 4. 2 squared is 4, so I had to 4 it over here. So that's 64. That's easy. So my center is positive 7, comes out opposite, negative 2, and my radius is equal to the square root of that, which is 8. Let me pause, and we've just got 3 problems left, I think. Now, they're not going to tell you that you have to solve for using the quadratic formula. You're going to use things like, you're going to see things like in simplest radical form, or in a plus bi form. If it says a plus bi form, that means it's going to be imaginary. It means you're going to have a negative under the radical. Or it could just say round to the nearest hundredths or something like that. They're not going to tell you that you have to use the quadratic formula. It'll either say in simplest radical form or in a plus bi form, or it'll say rounded. So, you could check it. X squared plus 3s minus 14. I mean, you can go over here to menu 331. Menu 331 and try it and see 1, 3, and negative 14. Oops. 1, 3, negative 14. And you'll see it just gets ridiculous answer. Of course, it's not imaginary this time. So here's how we do it. A, B, C, and D. Now, D stands for the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. This is A, this is B, and this is C. Remember, these are just numbers. So 1, 3, negative 14. And here we're going to do b squared, which is 9. Don't write 3 squared, write 9 minus 4 times 1 times negative 14. Just type that crap in your calculator. 9 minus 4 times 1 times negative 14. You should use parentheses and you get 65. I'm almost done, believe it or not. The quadratic formula is really easy. X equals negative b, negative 3, over 2 times 1, plus or minus, I should write the formula. X equals negative b over 2a, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Well, that b squared minus 4ac is that 65 we create. I like to do that off to the side. And then all over 2 times 1. So my answer is x equals 3 over 2 plus or minus the square root of 65 over 2. Now, if they ask for that, that is simplest radical form. If they ask for that to the nearest tenth or 100, type it in. Type in the plus, hit enter, type in the minus, hit an S there. Never want to work with an x squared that's negative, so we're going to move everything to the right side. Negative, oops, excuse me. We moved it over to the right side, so it becomes positive 3x squared plus 6x minus 10. So A is 3, B is 6, C is negative 10, and D is B squared, which is 36, minus 4 times 3 times negative 10. That's going to be a big number. We got to probably figure out what that is. Let's see, it's 120, 36 is minus, it's 156. Right, 120, 156. That's probably going to have to be reduced. So I take my formula. X equals negative B, negative 6, over 2 times 3, plus or minus the square root of 156 over 2 times 3. But I'm going to have to take this 156. I'm sure 4 goes into it. I'm pretty sure. 156. You don't believe me? Let's do this. 36 minus 4 times 3 times negative 10. 156. Let's do it. Divided by 4. Divided by 4. 39. 39 is prime, so that's going to be it. So it's going to be the square root of 4 times 39. And the square root of 4 is just 2. So this thing here becomes 2 square roots of 39. Well, notice that the 2's cancel. So my final answer is x equals, this is just negative 1. Negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 39 over 3. Done. 2 left. I think 2 left, right? 2 left. And then we're done. Let's just stop for a second. All right, 2 problems left. We'll be done in 5 minutes. X squared minus 14x plus 22 equals 0. A is equal to 1. B is equal to negative 14. And C is equal to 22. And I think that's going to cause us a problem. I think we might have imaginary for the first time. Let's check this out. Let's see what D is. D is equal to 14. Negative 14 squared is 196. You just put that in your calculator. Minus 4 times 1 times 22. I think actually we're going to be safe here. So if you did it like this, negative 14, if you just put that in your calculator squared, you'd say that's 196. And then to that, we're going to subtract 4 times 1 times 22. And I get 108. Ooh, that's a cool number, though, because there is a perfect square that goes into that. All right, big one, too. So we're going to do x equals negative b is 14 all over 2 times 1 plus or minus the square root of 108 all over 2. Now, the square root of 108, I'm sure 4 goes into it. So if I do 4, I know that goes in, I think, 27 times. Oh, wait a second. In 27, I know a 9 goes into 27. So that's 4 times 27 times, oops, excuse me. By the way, I know 27 goes into it. You would just take 108 and divide by 4. So 4 times 9 times 3. Okay, that's not bad. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. So that's a 6 square roots of 3. So this is really 6 square roots of 3. Now, hopefully you saw that actually 36 times 3 was 108, but maybe you didn't see it. All right, we're almost done. X equals 7. That's this. Plus or minus, let's see, 2 goes into 6 3 times. 3 square roots of 3. Ka-ching! Last problem, kids. Last problem. Last problem. So we're going to do 3x squared minus 24x. Does this look familiar? Plus 48 equals 0. We're going to write down A, B, C, and D. 3, negative 24, 48, and, oh man. So negative 24 squared, I think that's 576, but 24 squared. It's always positive, so that's 576. I know you're impressed. Minus 4 times 3 times 48. None of these turned out negative. I'm going to have to add one that's negative, I think. So I'm going to do minus 4 times 3 times 48. That's bothersome. Oh my gosh, that's 0. 0. That means this thing factors. Because that's a 0, that thing factors. So what I end up with is x equals negative b, which is 24, over 2 times 3 plus or minus the square root of 0 all over 2 times 3. Well, this is just 0. So what I end up with is x equals 24 over 6, which is x equals 4. And if I remember correctly, isn't that... I know I had it somewhere. Right there. Ah, it's that problem right there. We did it by completing the square. All right, kids, that's it. That's all she wrote. That's the end of this day. I hope you enjoyed yourself. It wasn't bad. Catch you on the flip side, homies.